Ladies and gentlemen, happy Friday. Welcome to the Denise Gary Show. It's great to be with you today. I want to call everyone to action. We've talked about on this program how liberal progressives in the state of California have made it a law that people have to study gender and gender fluidity. And again, with little minds that are not fully developed and mature, talking to children from grades K through 12 can create situations in which they become depressed or anxious, full of anxiety. Sometimes it leads to suicide. A lot of problems when you start trying to confuse children about who they are because they're trying to figure it out. And I think there's enough pressure and struggles in life without having to have it complicated by Democrats or liberal progressives saying to children, well, you know, there's a gender spectrum available out there. It's not like it's assigned to you at birth. You either have two X chromosomes or an XY chromosome. Certainly by looking in the mirror, we can usually figure out, if we're male or female. So I just think it's important that today, Friday, I get the message out to all of you. There's an organization that you can join. The organization is called California Parent Alliance. California Parent Alliance. You can check them out on Twitter. They're at Cal, C-A-L, PAR for Parents, P-A-R, Alliance. And I want to read to you just briefly one of their tweets. This is California Parent Alliance is a group of California parents and other supporters. And again, mind you, this issue of liberal progressives passing legislation in other states that are focusing children's minds and thoughts and hearts on what gender they might possibly decide to embrace along a spectrum of gender varieties. Again, suggesting that your sexual identity is not binary or assigned to you at birth. Remember the day when, you could see or determine, doctors determined, they still do, doctors determine if it's a boy or a girl that's growing inside the mother's womb. I don't know how you talk about that in terms of a gender spectrum, because even in the mother's womb, as the baby is growing, it's pretty clear if they're male or female, right? I mean, we all know that. So I feel deeply concerned about this issue because, again, teen suicide is up. And if you're going to create confusion in the minds of people that can become, and you know how emotional young people can become, junior high, high school, but even the fact that this particular school district, this is Oak Park, California. I just found this out the other day. It says parents in Oak Park, California are condemning a new elementary school there. So this school board from Oak Park, California, took a vote quietly without letting the parents know, without having parental input. So this is incredible. You've got school boards in the state of California that are full of liberal progressives or Democrats, people on the left, that are coming together and holding school board meetings and quietly voting. In this case, the Oak Park School District voted quietly 5-0 to include in grades kindergarten, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th, a gender neutrality or gender issue related or gender identity curriculum. Why is that? Don't we have enough on our plates as educators here in the state of California and across the nation, around the world, with teaching children about mathematics and English and how to read and how to write? I think it's incredible that now teachers are going to waste time in a public school classroom trying to cause children to second guess their sexual or gender identity. And I'd like you to listen to a clip. I thought, well, maybe if audiences see this clip, they'll realize just how unsophisticated and uncomplicated gender identity really is. So take a look at this and ask yourself, really, do we have to have California teachers complicate the issue of a person's gender identity? Let's go for it.
So you're having a conversation with someone and they tell you that sex is not a fixed part of a person's identity, but something that is merely assigned at birth. They go on to say that since sex is assigned at birth, it can be reassigned later if the person discovers that a mistake was made. What would you say? First, a person's sex is acknowledged, not assigned. There are many things that doctors learn about a baby when it's born, like height, weight, and blood type. Those things aren't assigned, they are acknowledged. Other things are assigned at birth, like a name. Babies are assigned names exclusively on the preferences of their parents. Changing a name before, during, or even after birth has no real impact on the person because it is not a biological part of their identity. So, if we know that some things are acknowledged and some things are assigned, what category does a baby's sex fall into? Is it more like getting a name from your parents, or more like learning your blood type from the doctor? I think the answer to this is pretty clear, which leads to the second point. Second, sex is determined by our reproductive system. In most cases, humans were born with 2 chromosomes, either XX or XY. Those chromosomes lead to the creation of reproductive organs, which create sex hormones, which in turn create genitalia and secondary sex characteristics like body hair, bone structure, or an Adam's apple. Within our species, there are only 2 reproductive systems, male and...
So ladies and gentlemen, you saw that clip. Really? Does one's gender identity need to be complicated? It's not complicated. And the school district, and Palo Alto, that's another one, Palo Alto Unified School District, again, feels it's important that every teacher be trained in LGBTQ issues, plus sexual orientation and gender identity. Why are we doing this? Why do teachers have to be trained? I don't want to ever be trained in a classroom about the LGBTQ. I can look it up in the dictionary. I know what it is. I understand sexual orientation and gender identity programs. I understand that. I can read. Most of us can read. We at least learned that in our public school education. And I spent 10 years of my life in university education, getting an advanced degree and all kinds of classes and certificates and credentials and on and on. So, I think about this and I just think it's crazy. When I was a little girl, I was a tomboy. I didn't think that I need to question if I was a boy or a girl. I just knew that as a girl, I liked to play sports and I enjoyed it. I didn't need a public school teacher to make me think, ooh, wow, because I like to play softball, or I enjoyed football, or I enjoyed basketball, that now I need to think of myself as being really different. Maybe, even though I look like a girl, I have the body of a female, I'm really a boy deep inside. Ladies and gentlemen, your sexual identity is not a social construct. Let's not turn it into one. Let's train teachers to be the best facilitators of imparting knowledge about grammar rules and how to speak properly, and reading and writing and U.S. history and science and math. Let's focus on what the kinds of skills that young people need to go out in the world and become more advanced and more sophisticated in a field of endeavor where they can enjoy professional success. Right now, the United States of America needs more engineers. Right here in our area, we need more nurses. Why do we need to confuse young people about their gender? Again, suicide rates are up. I don't think that the schools here in the state of California need to follow through on confusing young people about who they are. And I also want to say this, that we've got to get Democrats out of office in California, because the other thing is there's a thing called parental opt-out. Now, the article that I'm looking at says that regarding a parental opt-out from the curriculum, an Oak Park district employee said that the district can allow parents to opt out. Because if they allow parents to opt out their children from these classes, it could potentially increase the prevalence of gender-related bias, violence, bullying, and harassment. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. You know what? As somebody that's taught from K all the way through to university level classes at the University of California, Irvine, it doesn't matter what grade level I've taught, and I've taught them all. I teach people to show respect towards the other people in the class. That's one of the rules of the class. Is you can disagree, and that's perfectly okay. Explore the issues, but at least do so in a thoughtful manner, in a tolerant manner, in at least a fairly respectful manner. So we don't need to teach our children, we don't need to teach the next generation of Americans to be confused about their identity. We don't need to teach about homosexuality and transgenderism and gender identity. We don't have to do that. All we need to do as people that are serving the America's, California's youth, although there are a lot of older people now that are taking college classes, and I think that's fabulous, that, if we're in the classroom and we're facilitating the learning process and helping people really understand and know various things related to a particular field or subject area, we can teach respect, we can teach good manners, we can teach tolerance, but we don't need to teach gender identity and homosexuality and transgenderism. It's just not necessary. And parents in the state of California and grandparents and parents and grandparents across this country, wake up. Because school districts in your state, I read more and more and more about other school districts around the country that are trying to push these leftists, these liberal progressives, Democrats, which is why we need to vote them all out of office, are really trying to create more confusion and heartache among the nation's young people. And it's wrong. And I thought it was really sad that I was listening to Martha McCallum. I think her show is called The Story. Martha McCallum on Fox News. Listening to it. Many of us have Sirius Radio, and I was listening to it. She was giving the President Trump's advisor, I believe her name is Kellyanne Conway, Martha McCallum on Fox News, host of, I believe her program is called The Story, was hassling, bullying, being intolerant towards President Trump's advisor, Kellyanne Conway, because the Democrats, the liberal progressives in Washington, D.C., they have passed out of the House, because the Democrats control the House, they passed the Equality Act, which is House H.R. 5. The House Equality Act passed the House on Friday, once upon a time in May. And Martha McCallum was talking about how this sweeping legislation would amend the Civil Rights Act of 1964 to include sexual orientation and gender identity as protected characteristics. We don't need to protect those characteristics. If we think people are confused and unlearned and uninformed and uneducated because they don't understand enough to realize that gender is binary and it's based on 2 X chromosomes or an XY chromosome. It's pretty straightforward stuff. And so, the Trump administration, I want you to know what the Trump administration has said. They came out with a statement that says, quote, The Trump administration absolutely opposes discrimination of any kind. The president always says that. The Trump administration absolutely opposes discrimination of any kind and supports the equal treatment of all. So do I. I don't think I need to teach it in the classroom. But, am I going to bully somebody or harass somebody or demonstrate intolerance towards somebody because, they've really chosen a very different lifestyle than myself? No, I just leave them alone. I don't want to get involved in that. I don't want to hear their issues. I don't want any part of that. And that's okay. So they can make their choices in life, and I can make my choices in life, and you can make your choices in life. But it doesn't mean that we need to legalize. It doesn't mean that Democrats in the House of Representatives, because they control the United States House of Representatives, doesn't mean that they need to turn the LGBTQ issue and gender identity issues into protected characteristics. That's upside down. I really, and I want to say to Martha McCallum at Fox News Network, how pathetic that you would push back so hard on Kellyanne Conway. I mean, the president's come out and said they don't support bias or discrimination. However, they also pointed out, and other Republicans have pointed out, that this bill, HR 5, the Equality Act, has quote-unquote poison pills. And it says here, this was from Representative Tom McClintock. He's a Republican from California. He wanted an amendment to the bill that would have ensured that the bill would not be construed to require a health care provider to affirm the self-professed gender identity of a minor. Because there are intelligent, thoughtful doctors out there that know that people that are 18 and younger don't belong having surgery or hormonal treatments to change their, or attempt to change their gender. Because when they become an adult, and maybe when they get to be the age 30, they're going to be very unhappy with their choices that they made at age 12. So thank you, Republican from the state of California, McClintock, for trying to put an amendment on this act by the Democrats that says that, doctors shouldn't be sued because some child has a whim, some underage child whose brain isn't even fully developed until the age 24, 25, 26. And, they want some doctor, and they've talked their parents into, or their parents are mixed up, and their parents are willing to let their child undergo surgical procedures or treatment. I thought, and this was also interesting, Representative Greg Steube, Republican from Florida, he offered an amendment too that would have ensured that the act would not require a biological female to face competition from a biological male in sporting events. That's right. How unfair is it that these men who declare themselves a female are now joining sports teams and participating as a female, and they're not female at all, and so they're able to beat all the other women. You know what I think that is? I think it's a cop-out. It reminds me of somebody who couldn't, when I think about men joining women's teams, it reminds me of the man that couldn't win competing against other men. So he decides, well, I'll turn myself into a female. Everybody will have to call me a she and her, and I'll be able to join a team, and now I will be a winner because I can outrun or outlift or outscore a female. I think it's weak and cowardly. I really do. And another thing that really bothers me is I believe there was another Republican that sought to restore the application of religious freedom. Because remember, there are nurses and doctors, there are people that work at hospitals that are Christian or Jewish, and, they look at the scriptures, the Holy Scriptures, and things along this line, and they would say, well, that's considered an abomination. Look it up. Check it out. I think in Leviticus it talks about it in what Christians call the Old Testament or the Torah, as well as the New Testaments. It's actually referred to in the Bible as an abomination. So, and then of course there was another amendment that would have safeguarded teachers, because teachers shouldn't be sued. You know, if they have some 10-year-old walk in and say, you know, my name is a little boy walks in the room and says, you know, I'm Shelly today. And he knows that basically he can make that teacher's life miserable all day long or all week long or all month long, because if the teacher slips up and goes back and refers to that little boy under his male name or refers to him as a he or his or him, then that teacher could be sued. I mean, there's a lot that the liberal progressives haven't thought through. And we're just beginning to talk about it and think about it. But you've got to stand up. And that's why I'm sharing this with you today, ladies and gentlemen. You've got to stand up. Okay, I've got some good news. But first we've got to take a commercial break. We'll be right back with some good news.
I want to tell you about a place I love to go, Frugatti's Italian Restaurant. Very few locations here provide seating outside in front of a fabulous water fountain with an atmosphere that is reminiscent to me of eating outdoors in Venice. This is real Italian food by real Italians. And what makes it even more so is owner Ralph Frugoletti, who nearly a quarter century ago brought a wood fire oven from Milan, Italy to make, like his mother, fresh homemade bread and pizzas. Moreover, Frugatti's Restaurant offers you not only the very best in Southern Italian cooking, even importing the finest ingredients for authentic Italian food, including a fitness menu. After all, Ralph has represented the United States and Italy, competing in the Master Championship Games. He knows all the right food for good fitness, so check out the menu. After today's broadcast, run over to Frugatti's Italian Restaurant and Catering at 600 Coffee Road here in Bakersfield. And after a Friday, Saturday, or Sunday service, stop into Frugatti's for a great lunch. I'll see you there, and tell Mr. Ralph Frugoletti that Denice sent you. Salute. Bon appetito.
Anataste Products, owned and operated by a former Marine Corps officer, Scott Baker. If you're working for a major defense company, contractor, aerospace company, contact Scott Baker. Anataste Products can do whatever nut, bolt, whatever piece you need for that military equipment or satellite that you need to have manufactured here in the United States. 661 area code 822-6873. 661-822-6873. Anataste Products. They can handle all and every kind of secret or top secret effort on the part of the Pentagon. And again, major U.S. companies. They do work for the Naval Air Warfare Center there at China Lake, Edwards Air Force Base. They do what needs to be done to help secure the national security of this country by providing the nuts and bolts, what goes into this kind of heavy equipment that is necessary to keep us safe. So support this wonderful company, Anataste Products, there in the hub of the aerospace industry in East Kern County in the beautiful Tehachapi Mountains. So give Scott Baker, former Marine Corps officer, a call, 661 area code 822-6873. Ladies and gentlemen, I wanted to end on a happy note. And the happy note is this, that the unemployment rate in the United States of America remains at a historic low of about 3%. It's incredible. Historic low of about 3%. Somebody say 3.7%. The African American unemployment rate has hit a new low in the United States. I mean, it's incredible. The Bureau of Labor Statistics, you can look it up. The Bureau of Labor Statistics has just released its monthly employment situation report. And according to the monthly employment situation report, It shows wage growth, strong wage growth, and steady employment growth. Again, under this president, more and more jobs are added to the job market in the United States each and every month since he's been elected. And August was no exception. And 130,000 jobs were added to the job market in August. And I was looking at what areas there was job increases. So in the professional and business services sector, job growth was increased by 37 jobs. In education and health services, that was the second largest job growth of 32,000. Manufacturing jobs increased, gaining 3,000 more jobs. Since the president's election, the manufacturing industry alone has added 512,000 jobs, 138,000 jobs in the past 12 months. Manufacturing hours have also increased during the month of August. So August increased. Again, each and every month since this president's been elected, 130,000 jobs in the month of August. Celebrate, ladies and gentlemen. Hallelujah. You know, we are at historic low in unemployment rates in this country. And I think we owe the president a thank you, who has done everything I think that he can do, and he continues to do everything he can do to try to make it possible for companies to trade freely with the United States, countries to trade freely. I don't have a problem with China. I think the president is doing everything he can to stand up for the American farmer and business community. And it's about time that we had a president that didn't allow a communist country like China to continue to steal our intellectual property and dump all their products in this country without trade reciprocity, without fairness in our trade relations. Thank you, President Trump. I hope everybody has a wonderful weekend. Thank you for listening to the Denice Gary Show. We need to hear from you. If you would please make a tax-deductible contribution to the Denice Gary Show, you can do so by writing a check or filling out a money order, and you can do it anonymously. That money order can be anonymous if you choose to make it anonymous. Make it out to the Middle East Initiative. It's a 501c3 educational foundation. The Middle East Initiative. Send it to P.O. Box 82162. Get out that envelope. Write down P.O. Box 82162, Bakersfield, California, 93380. Be sure you put on the envelope the Middle East Initiative. Or if you want to put the Denice Gary Show. But for your check or money order to get that tax deduction, you need to make it out to my 501c3, which is the Middle East Initiative. Thank you again for listening. Have a wonderful weekend. This is Denice, signing off.